Hi, and welcome to another episode of Webcam Sessions. This week we're on part 3 out of 4 where we're working on the ultimate ukulele strum pattern. Each week we're working on a new technique and we're layering them in together until we've got a really sweet way of playing your traditional down, 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 up pattern, only with a lot more technique and cool stuff involved. If you haven't checked out the past 2 weeks, please do so. They're in the link description below, in the description links below, something like that. You can see it there, the chunks as well as the accent lesson. And this week we're going to be working on a technique that I call sweeps, but you might hear as rasgueado or fan strokes or lots of different names. But to dive right into it, it's something that sounds like this. This is really cool flamenco sounding, just totally awesome ukulele technique. And so with this technique, what we want to start doing is getting the muscle memory of the fingers, because it's essentially just a down strum, only instead of just using our index finger, which we will typically do, we're going to use all 4 of these fingers. Now the way that I like to show this technique is to take these fingers and curl them behind the thumb like this and apply a little bit of pressure out to the thumb. And then I want you to jettison the pinky finger, then the ring finger, then the middle, then the index, one after another. So again, applying a little bit of pressure like this and have each finger flick out individually. Now what I'm working on is making it so that each one of these fingers is very regular with their motions, right? So we're not doing something like this, where everything is jumbled, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now as you get comfortable with that, you want to be able to do the same thing, taking away the thumb. And that's where the muscle memory comes in, right? It's really tough to do this without having that practice of using the finger beforehand. But you'll notice I'm jettisoning each one of those fingers, curling them up, and each one is coming outward. Now, as you get comfortable with that, you can take it to your ukulele. And for now, let's go ahead and play an A chord, which we'll take our middle finger, place on the 2nd fret of the G string, and our index finger, place on the 1st fret of the C string. And we're going to try making this motion as one downward motion with our hand, with each one of the fingers going completely across the strings. So we'll start with our pinky, then ring, then middle, then index. Nice and slow, it should look something like this. You hear it doesn't sound very good slow. But as you speed it up, it starts to sound better and better. It's pure muscle memory, nothing else. So when you first start working on this, it's going to feel impossible because it's brand new, because your fingers aren't used to working independently of one another, but still making one fluid motion with the hand. So a couple notes. One is, if it's really difficult, leaving your thumb behind the fingertips like this and trying it can help, although it will make the sound more brittle. You'll hear that's a very loud, brash sound because I'm striking the strings with too much force because of the pressure I'm putting behind the thumb here, right? So when you're working on it, you want to make sure that you're getting a nice light touch, which really comes from the thumb moving away, which again is acquired only through the muscle memory of practice. Now, another note is that you don't want your hand to pulse down and up as you do this. So something that's very wrong that you want to be careful of is this. If I'm playing that A chord. See how I'm going through with the pinky and then bringing my hand back up, then going through with the ring, bringing the hand back up, so on and so forth. That is very wrong. We want the hand to move downward just once and the fingers to follow through. So it takes a lot of practice, and my favorite part about this technique is you'll never master it. Well, I'll never master it. No one ever really masters it. And all that I mean by that is, as soon as you think you got it as good as you want it, you'll be working on it, years later, and all of a sudden it just clicks a little bit better. And even now, as I teach this technique and have been teaching it for years, sometimes I'll do it and it's the best I've ever done it. And I feel like this technique is so cool because I've been doing it for so long, and yet I still feel like I'm improving on it and making it better. So when I say that you'll never master it, all I mean is it just gets better and better and better and better as you work on it and as you do it, because it is this very fine muscle memory technique that uses a lot of finger motions And you know, the more even your fingers are together, the better this technique is going to sound. So for more information on how to do this technique and more pattern examples with it, be sure to check out the course I did with Ukulele Underground called the Ultimate Ukulele Strumming Course. We go into detail of this technique and a lot of patterns that you can use with it. But today we're going to work on one more pattern that utilizes this strum, and we're going to kind of sift it in with some of the down, down, up, down, up stuff that we've been doing to this point. So if we look at our traditional calypso strum, we have down, miss, up, down, up. Well, where I really like to use this pattern with is on the second down. So we're going to go down, miss, and then sweep, which you'll notice now we have arrows with little flags on the edge of them to tell us that we're going to sweep through, or raschiato, whatever we want to call it. And we'll come back up, and then miss, up, down, up. So the pattern, really slow, looks something like this. Again, with our A chord, down, miss, sweep, up, miss, up, down, up. Again, it's down, miss, sweep, up, miss, up, down, up. Now an important note here is you'll notice that I miss before the sweep. I really like to miss before a sweep and not do an up strum before it, because I like to give myself the opportunity to curl my hand into position. Right? By always preceding it with a miss, you have the time to do your normal motion of a strum, curl the fingers inward, to then get that really sweet sound on that next down strum. So this is my absolute favorite pattern to do this technique with in a basic way, right? It's just your down, down, up, only now it's down, sweep, up, down, up, and that sounds really cool. So let's go ahead and try it, and we'll try speeding it up as we go. So we're going to go down, miss, sweep, up, miss, up, down, miss, sweep, up, miss, up, down, miss, sweep, up, miss, up, down, up. Let's go and try it a little bit faster. And again, it's not realistic to be able to do this technique proficiently the first time you're watching this video, because it just takes that time and muscle memory to get comfortable with it. It takes a lot of this practice before it's comfortable. But just so you can hear it at full speed, it sounds something like this. Really awesome. And just so you know, that second chord I was playing there is called a B flat major 7, which ring finger here on 3 of the G, middle here on 2 of the C, index here on 1 of the E, one of my favorite kind of flamenco sounding ukulele chords. But as you're working on this technique, again, it sounds really sweet, but you don't need a ukulele to practice it. When I was learning it, the way that I got really proficient with those fingers jettisoning out was I tried it on all objects I could. I was in high school when I was learning this technique, and I was learning to drive, and I would just sit there and I'd flick on the steering wheel, right? I'd sit in math class with a pencil. This is a nail file, but I'd just sit there trying to get that same sound. And what's cool is no matter what object you do it on, you can hear that you can still get that really cool sound. And if you're off a little bit, you'll hear that it doesn't have that same texture. So you can try it on your phone, whatever you want, it doesn't matter. And that's what makes this such a cool technique, is you don't even need a ukulele to practice it. It might look a little funny when you're, doing it on all whatever you can, but the more that you get comfortable with those fingers jettisoning outward, the easier this technique will be. And obviously it's no substitute for practicing it with the ukulele, but it's something you can try. So next week we're going to be working on the final installment of this, where we'll be using ghost note strumming, which is probably my favorite ukulele technique, and we'll be combining all 4 of these techniques into one super pattern. So in the meantime, if you're wanting to work more with strum patterns and want lots of different examples, be sure to check out that course I mentioned that I worked on with Ukulele Underground. We do a ton of different patterns using these different techniques with play-along videos and everything else. It's a lot of fun. And so check it out if you haven't already. And I will see you guys next week for the final installment on Webcam Sessions. well, not final ever installment, just final of the 4-part installment. We'll keep doing these, but anyways, have a great week, guys.